Syrian Arab armed forces continue their operation against mercenary terrorists and inflict heavy losses on them. The two Italian experts who were kidnapped by an armed terrorist group in Damascus countryside are released. Damascus and Tehran increased their cooperation by new agreements for the benefit of both peoples. Good afternoon. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov announced that what he called Western and some Arab countries are encouraging the opposition in Syria to carry on in an armed struggle against the Syrian government. Lavrov said in a press conference that the UN Human Rights Council has provided evidence that the opposition and the armed groups are carrying executions without trials and torture, and for that reason pressure must be exercised on these parties. Though Lavrov added that his Western colleagues prefer to do other things, including working with some neighboring countries to Syria to instigate and direct the armed fighters to lead on the armed fight against the government, assuring that the process of all of this is more bloodshed. Lavrov stressed that all parties should implement what was agreed upon in the Syria work group in Geneva in an honest way that will help stop the violence, saying that Russia is ready for that. The Russian minister pointed out that Moscow has a strong conviction that it is unrealistic that the Syrian government won't stand by watching while the insurgents spread in major cities. Competent security personnel clashed today with an armed terrorist group that was using a Kia sedan to terrorize people and shoot at them in al-Furqan neighborhood in Aleppo. Competent security personnel also clashed today with the same armed group that was using the Kia sedan, as we mentioned before, and they shot at them in al-Furqan quarter in Aleppo. The official source told our reporter that 2 terrorists were killed and 3 others were arrested and their weapons were confiscated. In al-Sulaymaniya neighborhood in the city, and after receiving information from residents there, competent authorities set up an ambush for a terrorist group that was using a Land Cruiser. The clash led to the death of terrorists and their weapons were confiscated. Also, security forces also chased a terrorist group in al-Ansari neighborhood east of the city, and this resulted in the casualties in the ranks of the terrorist groups and the confiscation of their weapons and a Geely vehicle they were using. Security forces in cooperation with the residents clashed with 2 terrorist groups near al-Baladi and roundabout in a Western city in Homs, killing and wounding dozens of terrorists. In the same context, border guards and security forces confronted a terrorist attack by an armed terrorist group from inside the Lebanese territories. An official source in Homs city said that the terrorists targeted border posts of al-Armuta, Shahida and al-Raydaniyeh in Damascus countryside with mortars and RPGs as their infiltration attempts into Syria was foiled. The clash resulted in heavy losses among members of the armed terrorist groups. A large explosion took place in al-Shawadir street in al-Khalidiyya neighborhood in Homs city before iftar time on Friday. An official source said that the explosion occurred when a terrorist group was planting explosives in the street and its buildings, and that a large number of terrorists were killed or wounded in the blast. The Syrian Arab armed forces cleared al-Hajar al-Aswad neighborhood in Damascus from armed terrorist groups and restored security and stability to it.
At the end of al-Hajar al-Aswad near Hijira fields, an army unit clashed with the fleeing terrorists depending on information given by locals.
We came in response to the call of the citizens and to implement the task successfully. We defended the citizens, protected them against the terrorist attacks, and we expelled the terrorists from the Hajar al-Aswad area. We stormed the terrorist hideouts in the Hajar al-Aswad area, responding to the call of the people, and we pursued the terrorists and killed dozens of them. We will pursue the terrorists in all areas. Our forces are deploying everywhere, and we will pursue them outside the Hajar al-Aswad.
We had terrorist groups. Thank God. The army came and expelled them out. We are safe now. May God bless the army. We were afraid. Frankly, I did not feel safe except today, because the situation was very bad and terrible, especially for children who couldn't sleep at night. We used to hear intensive fire.
I was abducted by armed terrorists while I was returning home at night. They saw our identity cards. They were carrying machine guns. They imprisoned us and they tortured us the whole night. Look, they took off our clothes, they poured water on us, and they hit us with their guns. Then they made us stand in front of them directing their weapons at our heads. They used us as human shields, and they opened fire against the army. Today, the army came to release us and the county from the terrorists.
With their relentless will, the Syrian Arab armed forces managed to clear the residential quarters and streets of al-Hajar al-Aswad from the terrorist groups which had been stealing, vandalizing public and private institutions, burning and abducting civilians, and using them as human shields. By the implementation of the armed forces task successfully, Damascus neighborhoods expelled terrorists and restored normal life thanks to the relentless will of the armed forces' sons, who pledged to exert all efforts to immunize the homeland and defend it against attackers.
In the context of an ongoing military operation to clear some areas from terrorists in Damascus countryside, the Syrian Arab armed forces managed to liberate 2 Italian experts who had been abducted earlier by an armed terrorist group. A source at the Electricity Ministry said that the army managed to free the 2 abducted Italian experts who were working in Deir electric power station. 2 Italian experts asserted following their liberation that a 15-member armed terrorist group had kidnapped and mistreated them, and that our armed forces liberated them from the terrorist groups.
8 days ago, when we was on the road between Sheraton Hotel and Damascus Airport, we was kidnapped from a group of young people. They was full covered, and their face was covered from a black mask. They bring us out from our cars, and they just put us in a line on the wall, and after that they bring us in a place.
8 days because Syrian army, they make free us. Otherwise I don't know how long we will stay there, realistic. It was a lot of army in the house that it was there. We found a lot of army. More sure for 10 people or 15 people. Kalashnikov, gun, granata and bazooka, a lot. Look, the experience, I can talk only with the experience that today I got it with the Syrian army. And I see from this morning at 12, in the evening, we follow Syrian army in the part of the city where it was, and I never see one action against Syrian people. They check it in a normal condition, not more, not less.
The Syrian official delegation headed by Vice Prime Minister for Service Affairs and Minister of Local Administration Omar Ghalawanji concluded its visit to Iran by signing several memos of understanding with the Iranian side in the fields of electrical energy, health, water and sewage. The Iranian Energy Minister said, and the Syrian Electricity Ministry signed a memo of understanding on electricity dragging to Syria, importing electricity, transmission and distribution equipment, establishing generating plants and renewable electricity generation projects. Another memo was signed between the Syrian Ministry of Water Resources and the Iranian Energy Ministry on establishing wastewater treatment plants in Syria and making use of the Iranian expertise in setting up a water resources management plant in Syria. Meanwhile, Secretary of the Iranian Supreme National Security Council, Saeed Jalili, underlined that Iran strongly opposes any foreign intervention in the Syrian domestic affairs. Meeting Ghalawanji and the accompanying delegation, Jalili condemned the misleading media campaigns and the pressures to which Syria is exposed, stressing that Syria will win and come out of the crisis stronger. Under the slogan Volunteers for the Sake of the Home, the cleaning campaign has concluded, which is organized by the Revolution Youth Union in coordination with its branches in Damascus government. This campaign continued for 4 days in Damascus streets with the participation of hundreds of volunteers. The campaign falls under the annual plan of Revolution Youth Union in the voluntary work, in addition to the participation of the volunteers' families in this campaign in order to take out the waste and residues of the streets, especially in areas that experienced terrorist acts recently. Participants in the campaign stressed on the youth's role to restore glamour to Damascus in spite of all circumstances that Syria is going through.
ونحن الآن في منطقة ركن الدين عم يكون عندنا اليوم الختامي للحملة.
We are in the Rukn al-Din area. Today is the last day of the operation. We went into all areas where there was fighting, and thank God we were able to end the problems, and we are now taking out the waste and cleaning the area. The operation includes about 700 to 800 young men and women from different parts of Damascus working daily in different areas. Each group is about 300 participants. The operation lasted 4 days, and the locals were very cooperative in all areas that we worked in. The aim of this operation is to clean the areas and make the local feel that the country is still doing well. You notice that this area, Rukn al-Din, has none of the previous problems.
We're trying to clean the area, and this is a national duty. It is our job to keep our homeland clean. As we all now hear, there are many young men and women who can still work.
And with hope from the streets of Damascus, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more details about Syria and the world, visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Up next, Khaled Saqawi.